Hi, this is my review of Engines of Babylon. Engines of Babylon is a supplement for the Stars Without Number role-playing game. I am going to be reviewing the PDF version, but I'm going to use my printed supplement because I like to print these old school supplements almost immediately because I really like the sense of old school gameplay. So I'll be talking about details of the PDF version, but I will be using this printed version to show you some of the illustrations and such. Well, Engines of Babylon is basically a supplement that adds vehicle choices and options, as well as some trinkets and some very dangerous and very powerful pieces of Maltech. And this supplement isn't just for the Stars Without Number role-playing game. It can also be used with other old school Renaissance games, and even with other more modern games, even for inspiration, or you could also convert a lot of the material here. It's going to be easier if you're playing a D20 based system, but it's basically no trouble at all to convert some of the things here to other systems. Now let's talk about the quality of the PDF. The quality is superb, like many, if not all, of Kevin Crawford's role-playing games and supplements. The quality is terrific. You have bookmarks, you have an option to turn the layers on and off, you have great organization and writing. Everything is perfect. The quality is top-notch, and you have some very nice illustrations. So for example, I'm going to show you here a small system ship, because this supplement specializes in system ships, and I will talk about that in a few minutes. Well, let's talk about the content. This supplement gives you a short and excellent introduction to what it's all about, and the supplement is basically divided in 4 sections. So, 5 sections. So first you have the Howling Engines, the first section being introduction. Howling Engines, being the second section, talks about the different vehicles that you can use in planetary exploration. That is, many terrestrial vehicles with all the different ways in which you can build them. You also have some example vehicles, some good variety of them. But you also have all the information to design your own vehicles. You have vehicle types, graph vehicles, vehicle fittings, such as ablative skin, advanced sensors, compact outpost, cargo space. With all of this information, you can build sort of like primitive tanks, at least primitive compared to the technological level of other more advanced systems. And you also have a lot of options to build more futuristic vehicles, such as like hover bikes and such. And all of the vehicles can be specialized depending on the way that you build them. You have information on how to load vehicles on ships, different vehicle weapons such as flame cannons, grenade launchers, hunter drones. You have a lot of fittings, and you even have a vehicle quick reference sheet. And basically anything that you can imagine in a particular mission or objective-based adventure, you have the vehicle for the job. So for example, maybe you're carrying out some sort of scientific exploration, you have vehicles for that. Or maybe it's a sort of like a military-based campaign, you have vehicles for warfare. Or maybe just an all-purpose vehicle, you have vehicles for that. And you have example vehicles such as the Bush Flyer, the Cargo Hauler, the Colonial Surveyor. As you can see, you can also use vehicles for missions of colonization. And you have a luxury grab car, main battle tank. You have a lot of vehicles, and each one fits perfectly for a specialized objective. And this is quite nice because sometimes by getting more expensive vehicles, sometimes you don't use all of their capabilities, and you just want a vehicle that covers a specific need. And so here you're going to save some credits on the as a player character. And then you have the next section, which is a nearer apogee, and this is all about low-tech spacecraft and system ships. Now, what are system ships? System ships are somewhat more less technologically advanced than the other starships that have the spike drive, which allows them to travel between systems. These system ships can only move within a system, so they are less maneuverable and less not as fast as the starships. So in many ways, starships are better than system ships, but in more specific cases, system ships are less expensive to produce, more suited to moving and carrying out tasks within a system. So for example, if you need a ship to supply different bases or starships, system ships are perfect for that, but they can also participate in warfare or sort of like battle operations in space. And well, against a starship, a system ship is going to be almost useless. Maybe in some very specific cases they could actually hold their own, but most of the times you're going to use system ships against other system ships. So maybe you have like patrol system ships that attack pirate vessels or vice versa. But when starships fight against each other, you could also have some system ships to provide some support. You have information on different maneuvers like alter range, attack run, which is basically like getting up close and using all the weapons of the system ship and then backing up a bit, although that exposes the system ship a bit. They are somewhat fragile in comparison to the more advanced spaceships. And then you have evade combat and screen fleet. And now I like it that the screen fleet option allows the system ship to bring some support to spaceships or starships with a spike drive. So they are basically targeting those missiles or projectiles that are attacking the ships equipped with the spike drive. So that's quite nice that makes the system ships somewhat useful in mixed combat in space. Now, the system ships, as I was telling you, are cheaper to produce because they are less advanced and more specialized in particular hit and run missions or supply missions. And something that's somewhat curious of them is that they are actually better at long range combat. They basically have to factor in the vectors of the enemy ship, where it's going to move and such, and they shoot out this sort of like tracer ammunition and projectiles that try to hit those vectors and try to hit the ships that are at long range combat. So the difference of combat feels a bit fun at times. That there is a change of pace as compared to combat between spike drive equipped ships that have to fight up close and personal most of the time. And you have information on system ship travel. And of course, all the information that you need to build your own system ship, with information on different parts of the ship, hulls and fittings. And you also have details on system ship sensors and communications, how to try to avoid detection and to keep your communication from becoming decoded. You even have an example of a voyage of a system ship covering all the different facets or aspects that you can encounter during a standard system ship expedition. And you have information on weapons such as launch rockets and all the different for example, assassin drones, directed energy beams, spall gun, slag cannon, all the weapons that a system ship can use. Obviously not as advanced and devastating as other starships, but you have all the information so that they don't become useless in battle. And you have example system ships such as anti-piracy frigate, the cargo shuttle, the Hermit Hab, the naval flagship, the pirate corvette, a lot of system ships for many different purposes and missions. And then you have the section precious things, and this is basically a collection of baubles, devices and trinkets that allow you to add a bit more flavor and color to the game world, but you also have some gameplay related mechanics so they don't feel like just aesthetic things. So for example, you have some stones that look really nice in rings, earrings, necklaces, but they also give you a bonus to charisma, and they give you a bonus on mental effect saves. You also have a sort of like device or construct that you put an animal brain inside, and this machine copies the behavior and appearance of said animal, and so it's sort of like a way to resurrect an animal, and it also has a stats, so you can use it perhaps in combat or whatever. And you also have other things like the breath of life, which is literally something that breathes life into a body, so it's a way to resurrect other characters. You have a lot of them, different things with cool names such as Frozen Moment, Gemini Automaton, the Iron Seeds, Life in Amber, Midas Coffer, all of them with different uses and with that bring, as I can tell you, more character and color to the world of the worlds of Stars Without Number. And then you have a section called Forbidden Fruit, and this is all about Maltech. This is the forbidden technology that usually damages someone in order for it to be used. So for example, you have the Crown of the Black Crash. And this crown is quite sinister. This is basically a crown that a psychic can put on, and you can use your psychic powers with no restraint, almost with a feeling of limitless power. But the resource is human life. These crowns are connected to a factory that breeds and sacrifices humans so that you can use psychic powers without spending points. So that's quite sinister. And then you have things like, for example, the Graveyard Seed. And it's basically like a tiny little thing that you inject in the in a wound or something, and this Graveyard Seed sort of like copied the traits and characteristics of some other person, and the individual who was injected with this Graveyard Seed starts to transform into that individual. So it's basically like stealing a body, sort of like possessing a body. And you have many other sinister things with names such as Dirty Sunrise, Divinity Engine, Iron Cyst of Lord Shang, the Revolution Plague, Star Poison, many sinister things when it comes to Maltech. So let me tell you what I think of Engines of Babylon. For the hardcore and even dedicated Stars Without Number player or referee, more precisely, this is a must-have. You're going to find a lot of useful things here that add to the mechanics of the game and to the depth of the theme. However, I think this could be optional for those that are just like average players that only play Stars Without Number maybe once or twice a month, because some of these things are somewhat specialized. So for example, maybe you won't use all of those planetary vehicles unless you're having a campaign where there is a lot of planetary exploration. Maybe you're scientists or scouts or something. And the system ships are basically more appropriate for low technology systems. So maybe some campaigns are too high tech and they won't need these ships. However, because they are cheaper to produce and for example, maybe your characters have taken control of an entire system, it could be efficient to have some of these system ships moving from planet to base or vice versa, and resupplying and patrolling, etc. So that's a nice consideration. And the precious things and forbidden fruits, that is those trinkets and Maltech technology, are pretty nice for any campaign, so that's an important consideration. So I would say that this is a good option for more casual referees. But I also consider that this is a good supplement for other systems and games. So for example, maybe you could take some of these things and add them to Metamorphosis Alpha, or maybe even modern games. If you have a modern sci-fi game, you could find a lot of inspiration here. And if it's D20 based, well, you could it's going to be quite easy to convert things from this supplement to that role-playing game. Well, thanks for watching my review. If you have any comments or questions, please let me know. See you later.